What must give? We'll be hearing from them shortly. Dr. Edward Anayechi is going to be joining us in the studio. Plus, we'll take a look at the issues with inflation, because even though the inflation rate has gone down in the month of August, we are seeing also the food inflation still being high. We'll talk about it here on Business Focus. Welcome. Let's take a quick summary of some of the stories that made headlines in the world of business.
In business today, government's treasury bills were undersubscribed by about 11%, falling short of its target of 3.76 billion cedis. Interest rates, however, have soared slightly above 32%, now hovering around 32.17%. CEO of Eureka Energy Solutions, Dr. Yusuf Suleimana, has suggested government uses the windfall from the upstream petroleum sector to cushion consumers at the local pumps. His suggestion comes in the wake of the continuous increase in the price of Brent crude oil on the commodities market. Staff of embattled property developer Evergrande's wealth management unit have been detained by police in Shenzhen, southern China. In a post on social media, police called on the public to report any cases of suspected fraud.
Well, so there's more news on 3news.com. Make some time and visit 3news.com. Now, let's get into our first conversation, because the government says it has reopened its invitation for the Domestic Debt Action Program in relation to the February 2023 exchange to enable holders of the domestic bonds and notes who could not take part in the exercise to do so. Now, that's what the statement you see on the screen there. Now, they announced this reopening of the DDEP to give holders who could not participate in that opportunity to tender in. Now, in that statement, what we're learning is that the pension board holders were included in that particular release. And that is what the Pension Bond Holders Forum are saying, that they do not in any way want to be part of this reopened domestic debt exchange program. As to why they are making this particular claim and demand that they should be excluded from the domestic debt exchange program, we'll tell you shortly after this. And what does their exclusion mean to the domestic debt exchange program? Stay with us. We'll be back shortly after this quick break. Dr. Edward Anayechi is the leader of the Pension and Bondholders Forum. He's with us in the studio. We'll have a financial analyst joining us on Zoom to look at this situation in its entirety shortly after this quick break. Stay with us. This is Business Focus. We'll be back shortly.
We're going to demonstrate to you the superior properties of Flamingo paint as compared to other paint brands on the market. We take equal quantities of Flamingo paint and this ordinary paint. We then dilute them with water. And now, let the test begin. The gentleman on the left is going to apply the ordinary paint, and the gentleman on my right will use the Flamingo superior paint. As you can clearly see, Flamingo has the obvious better hiding. Furthermore, Flamingo has painted a much larger area. You know, one bucket of Flamingo paint is equal to several buckets of any other paint brand on the market. Flamingo paint is made with superior formulation to give superior durability, superior hiding, superior coverage. Flamingo paint, simply superior.
The sweet scent of rose in the morning brings me so much joy. inspired by damask rose and infused with 100% natural rose oil. Introducing new Clay Soft Perfume Beats washing powder. It's like bringing a garden with you everywhere with this wonderful perfume. Take a garden with you everywhere you go with Clay Soft Perfume Beats washing powder.
Ghana coming out again, the same squad. For the ball, he's got it! Throw it down, King!
Sports Station, Mondays, 9 p.m. on TV3.
Sports Station is brought to you by Betway, Nesta Mouthwash.
Flamingo Paint, superior durability, superior hiding, superior coverage, simply superior.
You're welcome back. This is Business Focus on TV3. We're live on TV3 Ghana on Facebook. Now, as earlier indicated, the government has reopened the domestic debt exchange program for bondholders who did not take part in the February opening to do so now. What we're learning is that now the pensioner bondholders have been included in this reopened DDEP. It's in one of the paragraphs. Now, they have issued a statement that's a pensioner bondholders. This is what the Ministry of Finance issued earlier. Now, let's take a look at this. They are talking about the fact that the terms of the invitation are identical to the terms of the February 2023 exchange, except that the relevant dates for this reopening, which was just September 13, have changed as indicated. And in the exchange of the memorandum, it goes on and on, they talk about except for dates specific to this reopening exercise and the payment of interest that has accrued since February 2023. The terms of the invitation are identical to the terms of the February 2023 exchange. Now, this is the Finance Ministry's release. Eventually, the pensioner bondholders also release a statement. Now, take a look at this. That's what you see on the screen right now. They are talking about the fact that they want to be excluded from this reopened DDEP. Dr. Edward Anienchi leads the Pensioner Bondholders Forum. This is the aspect, Dr. Edward Anienchi, of the release that pertains to you, right? That's the category B. What exactly is your issue with this category B that is on the screen now?
Well, thank you. The category B is made up of people who are 59 years and above. Mm-hmm. That's all the people who are there.
That's the mostly pensioners.
So anytime you mention category B, you are mentioning pensioners. So as soon as you are inviting and you say category B people are included in the invitation, then you are inviting these pensioners who have previously been exempted.
So in February, the first reopening, you were exempted from the process.
Yes.
But this new one, the reopening, you have been included.
Yes. That is why we are saying it's an irregular. It's irregular. It's irregular because you have already exempted that group. So you can't invite the same group subsequently to come and tender
in their bonds. I see. But have your coupons been paid up to date?
The coupons have been paid up to last week. Today, there is 3 more coupons maturing today, and a principal maturing today for payment.
And has there been any indication that payment will be made?
You see, that is where the problem is. The way this invitation and all the other things work is that once you have been invited to submit, to tender in your bond for new ones, technically, government stops paying coupons that are due on any bond which is being invited, any bondholder who is being invited to. The reason is that once you make that invitation to this group of investors, you are unable to determine who will bring the bonds and who will not bring the bonds. So assuming I'm going to bring my bonds, how do you pay me my coupon when I'm already going to bring my bonds? And the invitation is to what you are using to pay for the new bonds is your old bond, the value of your old bond, plus your accrued interest. So if you submit it today and the settlement day is, let's say, 29th, then your accrued interest up to 29th of this month plus your principal will be the two will be put together and a value assigned to that, and you will be issued with new bonds to that value. The new bonds will be 2 because you are an individual, 1 to mature 2027, and then 1 to mature 2028. So if I'm going to submit my bonds, I'm going to tender in my bonds, how do you pay me my coupons? And how do you know whether I will submit or I will tender or I will not tender? So you have to wait until the end of the maturity period where you go through settlement. Settlement is where you are going to cancel my old bonds and issue me with new bonds. It is only when you have done the settlement, then you can come now and say, these are the people who did not tender in their bonds. These are people who tendered in their bonds. So I'm going to cancel their old bonds and put in their new bonds in the depository. For these people who did not tender their coupon, their bonds, I'm now going to pay them their coupons and their principal. Meanwhile, this coupon or principal must have been due within the offer period. And because the offer is ongoing, you can't identify people who must be paid. So, for example, today that a coupon is due, if we are still included, then we will not get this our coupon until the offer is closed and settlement day has come. So now, even if government is not going to change anything, and they are going to change, as for the extension will come. If the extension is even not going to come, it means you are going to wait from now till 29th before government can identify that you didn't bring in you didn't tender your bonds, so I have to pay you your coupons that have been due or your principal that has been due. This is where the problem is.
So for as long as this reopened DDEP process is ongoing, and the fact that you have been included now as pensioners who have invested their money into government bonds, your coupons and your principals due today will not be paid. Until the process ends.
It's ended.
And that's what you're kicking against. That's why you want to be excluded.
But if our name has not been mentioned, then we will continue to receive our coupons and maturity as and when
I know you've written to the finance ministry. Has there been any correspondence between the two of you as to why you were included in this second one when you were excluded in the first one?
We just woke up to read this press release that was given to all press houses. We don't have any idea at all about why government decided to do that.
How is this going to impact on your situation economically? I mean, no, you've been picketing to demand that your monies be paid you.
Yes.
And
so now we take ourselves, once we are exempted, we don't want to be bothered about this reopening. You can invite people who are supposed to come, but not people who are not supposed to come. So we don't want to assume that, well, we are not there. You can put us there, but we are not there. Because the implication, as I have said, is that we will not be receiving our coupons or matured principal until settlement day, after settlement day before and we don't want that. We could have kept quiet that, well, you have put our names there, but we are not bringing it because we are not part. But if we don't do anything, our coupons and principals that will be due within the offer period up to the settlement date will not be paid to us. So, for example, if, as I said, if government was going to strictly finish this program on settlement day of 29th, and your coupon is due today, it means you have to wait for 11 days. And you don't even know what is going to happen on the 29th. Definitely, it's going to be extended because these things that
So
we have
I
done.
take it as of a certainty that none of your members will sign on to this reopened DDEP.
They don't have to. That is why we don't want. You see, you are dealing with people who, not even the 10% that government said it got from the pensioners, the earlier one. Of course, you know, some of our pensioners, their grandchildren and their grandsons and children advising them, say, oh, if you don't send it, it will be this. If you don't send it, there are certain people who may, because of what they will be told. And I get worried when government in this statement could even come out and say, it's likely I'll be paying the new bond holders their coupons or maturity when I'm unable to pay you. You know, that kind of statement, just to convince people that, well, let me take my old bonds to them so that I avoid this. So definitely, if you allow the government to do that, definitely, we are human beings. One or two people may sign on because they wouldn't, and you see, the understanding of this market is not a small thing, a small issue. How many people understand it? And would that person be able to go to a financial advisor who even understands this and say, can you advise me? No. It is the children who said that. They say you have to bring it, or if you don't bring it, it's going to be like this. Before you realize that person has signed on. Well, but if we are not part, then that person is not even qualified to attempt to bring his or her bonds to you for that exchange.
Important point. And Dr. Jordan, you stay with me. Let me go on to Zoom now. Joe Jackson is a financial analyst. He's been following this DDEP journey since we began. Mr. Jackson, good evening. Thank you so much for joining us here on Business Focus. So here is the pensioner bondholder saying, you know what, you excluded us in the first round of DDEP. This second round, the reopened DDEP, you have excluded us. We are not going to be part. We won't surrender our bonds. And we are urging our members not to sign on to this second one. But for as long as we are included, we are not going to pay our coupons that have matured and our principals. So take us out of it. How will this position or this decision they have taken impact on the DDEP as we are having this reopened one? Hello, if you can unmute for me, Mr. Jackson.
Good evening.
Yes, great. Good evening.
Listen, it's really simple. You're not going to give them a haircut. Why would you need for them to surrender your bonds? The only reason why they're going to surrender their bonds is that there is some haircut that's going to have to take place. That haircut is either an extension of tenor or a reduction of coupon rate. If you've excluded them and you're going to pay them as is, what's the point? A domestic debt exchange program is supposed to reduce the debt burden on the government. That reduction of the debt burden means that somebody has to pay, somebody has to take the pain. And in this case, they are urging the pensioners to come and take the pain. Two things this tells me. Hello, are you there?
I'm here with you, Mr. Jackson.
Yes. Two things this tells me. Number one, there are challenges with reaching debt sustainability. And so some of the groups that have been excluded, they have to be drawn back in because we haven't achieved debt sustainability yet. That's number one. Number two is this. Remember that we are accumulating debt rapidly on the domestic front through T-bills that have extremely high rates. There's a lot more pressure on the other government debts because our T-bill rates are high. Listen, in this year alone, we've incurred 10 billion cedis in interest payments, not principal, interest payments alone. 10 billion, 10.36 billion this year alone. How much was the DDEP 1? This could have wiped out anything from 20 to 30% of DDEP 1. So it's very simple. It tells you there's still pressure to achieve their sustainability. As we sit, the commercial bondholders, they've not signed the dotted line yet. As we sit, the common framework for debt hasn't been completed and signed yet. So there's still pressure. There's still pressure for the government. They haven't finished all their negotiations, and the negotiations are tough. So if the if the pensioners want to stay out, it's very clear. They are saying, I won't take a haircut of any sort. Whether you keep my principal and postpone my maturity date, or whether you what do you call it? Or whether you keep the principal and reduce the coupon rate, or some combination, I opt out because you've already kept me out. Very simple. There's a lot of pressure.
So as it stands now, government says it's not touching T-bills. And then pensioner bondholders are also saying, look, we don't even want to be part of this reopened DDEP. Clearly, government is running out of options. And what will be the ultimate impact of this situation?
Well, you see, it all comes down to somebody has to pay the bill. The government has lifted up its hand and said, I can't pay. Somebody has to pay the bill. And so the pressure is on. They have to have, that's why there's a subtle threat that the government is not sure it will be able to pay the old coupons, and that if you want your coupon rate, your bond paid, come into the new regime. The new regime involves a haircut. The pressure is on. And that's why one of the things I keep saying, we should reduce the T-bill rates. It just added pressure on the public purse. It just added pressure on our debts. It just added pressure which we don't need because we can avoid it.
Mr. Jackson, I appreciate your time. Thank you very much for this. And it's a very gloomy path ahead as we see it and how things are playing out. So for you, you've resolved. You don't want to be part of this second or the reopened DDEP. Has the Finance Ministry been communicated to about this decision you've taken?
Yes, we sent a letter to the ministry this morning.
This morning?
This morning.
Has there been any response to it?
No, we believe they will respond. Maybe it's too early to get to the processes, but they will respond. We can't be part of the reopening. It is as simple as that. And I believe somebody did not avert his mind to that these are exempted group. So if we are inviting people, it is people who were supposed, who had a chance to come and didn't come. And if you look at the statement that has been, that the government, it said, we are doing this because some people who were supposed to come couldn't come early, and the door was locked. So we are going to open them. Now we are not the people, we are not part of the people who were supposed to come and were late. We were exempted. So I think I kept on saying this thing about the issuer exemption and the self-exemption. I think people still haven't gotten the real issues.
So the pension, the bondholders who were pensioners who signed on to the first DDEP did that as
voluntarily because at that time they hadn't exempted us.
Okay.
And so those people are already gone. The rest has been exempted. So in that group we have now two people who voluntarily surrendered their bonds and were issued new ones.
Okay.
Just as you can't bring them back. As soon as the offer closed and the ministry announced that pensioners have been exempted, if you listen to what the minister said, pensioners who did not tender in their bonds. If you had not used that word, all pensioners who have tendered in their bonds were entitled to what? To come back, because now you have exempted us. So that operative word, pensioners who have not tendered in their bonds, close the window for people who, like Mihuyanka. Because when we're doing, people were, Chief, do you think we will get the exemption and what was happening? So people have gone in. Then they will say, if we knew we were going to be exempted, we wouldn't have exchanged our bonds. Nobody would have done that.
Right.
When you are going to receive 25, 30, 35%, and you are going in for that one that we fought and got 15%, you wouldn't have done that. But you didn't believe, or you were thinking, why, if it doesn't happen, what will happen?
What happened?
So you have gone in. So they are gone.
Okay. So
but those who are exempted,
who have now been included in this one.
You cannot invite them
indeed
to come for this reopening.
This is an issue that we're really monitoring quite closely, and what the Finance Ministry's response will be to your letter.
Yes.
As well. Thank you so much for coming. Really appreciate your time. Dr. Edouard Aniyi is the leader of the Pensioner Bondholders Forum. They've been included in this reopened domestic debt exchange program, as contained in this statement from the bank. That's the Finance Ministry. They say they don't want to be part. Government should take them out. Stay with me. We'll be back shortly after this quick break here on Business Focus. We're getting into alleged corruption at the ports. It's an interesting development. Stay with us.
The 2023 district level elections will be held on the 19th of December 2023 from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. When you vote assembly and unit committee members into office, you give them the authority to plan, budget and implement decisions on your behalf, because district assemblies and unit committees are responsible for the development of the areas within their jurisdiction. The assembly determines how much to spend on essential services and infrastructure, for example, healthcare facilities, schools, sanitation services, public transportation, the supply of clean water, local economic development and security measures within the locality. There is no discrimination against eligible candidates and voters. We must endeavor to vote for the right candidate irrespective of gender, ethnicity or disability. A vote for the right candidate is a vote for development. All Ghanaian citizens of 18 years and above with valid voter ID cards should turn out in their numbers to vote for their preferred candidate. Political parties are not allowed in district level elections. Do not sell your vote to any political party undercover. Remember, district level elections happens once every 4 years. The time is now. Your vote is your power. Get involved. This message is brought to you by the Ministry of Information with support from the Governance for Inclusive Development Program implemented by GIZ and commissioned by the German Ministry of Economic Cooperation and Development.
Are you ready to win solid cash every day with Cash Out? Be a proud winner of lots of cash simply by watching or listening to any of Media General stations. That's right, you are being rewarded for your loyalty. Tune in to all Media General brands. TV3, 3FM 92.7, Onia TV, Onia FM 95.1, all in Accra, Akuma FM 87.9 in Kumasi, and Connect FM 97.1 in Takoradi. To enter the Cash Out raffle on your favorite Media General station, just dial *439#. Follow the prompt and pick your favorite platform to enter. Voila! You are now eligible to become one of the 10 lucky winners of a cool cash prize. Remember, this is every day, all day on your favorite Media General station. Cash out and win big! This is in partnership with Radio Entertainment Limited. This promo is regulated by the National Lottery Authority on the Caritas Lottery platform. Terms and conditions apply.
Welcome back to Business Focus on TV3. We're also live on TV3 Ghana on Facebook and DSTV channel 279 all across the world on 3news.com. Now, there's been consistent concern raised by the Ghana Revenue Authority about happenings at the ports. They are accusing some importers and then also freight forwarders of engaging in corruption to the detriment of the state, because revenue that the state is supposed to get is going into individual pockets or lost as a result of connivance with some GRA officials at the ports in this country. Now, we heard from the GRA official sometime last week. We want to take a listen to him while I welcome David Kojo Amoateng, who is a leading member of the, in fact, is the president of the Traders Advocacy Group Ghana, TAG. They've raised a number of concerns about this happenings at the ports. He's joining us in studio. Thank you so much for joining us.
Welcome, my brother.
Let's hear from the GRA first to set the basis for what's happening at the ports, which the GRA says they are aware. Take a look.
The Ghana Revenue Authority, Custom Division in particular, has noted with great concern an emerging practice where some declarants, that is customs house agents and the importers, connive with some shipping lines to falsify information on trade documents, especially the bill of lading and the invoices, sometimes misdescribing the goods to obtain priority clearance, leading to payment of lesser duties to the state. The division acted on intelligence received somewhere in February this year on 2 companies, and the importers, that have dotted their bills of lading in clearing goods from the Tema port. The goods were targeted and intercepted for physical examination, and the results indicated that the description of the goods on the bill of ladings were different from the physical goods found after examination. The actual descriptions of the consignment were footwears. What we found were footwears, bags, that's belts, underwear, galvanized pipes, etc. But they were all entered as knapsack sprayers. Subsequent to that revelation, management tax internal audit and the post-clearance audit unit to do further investigations into our system, especially on those 2 importers and their agents. And subsequent to that, we had 23 bill of entries which had earlier been entered within the same period and which had also been misdescribed as the same knapsack sprayers. We are equally expanding the investigation to cover 6 years earlier, because we have realized that, and other companies, because it may not be the only companies who are doing that. And there's a possibility of prosecuting all those involved. And we want to give a warning to everybody that you cannot hide. Whatever happens, it will come out. And those who are into that practice, some of them can come out even, it's always, they can come out and own up, and we'll see what we'll do.
Alhaji Idrisu Seidu is Assistant Commissioner of the Ghana Revenue Authority now. This was sometime last week, in raising the Customs Division of the Ghana Revenue Authority Commissioner, raising fundamental issues there. But, Mr. Amoateng, so what's your concern about the GRA's position on this matter? Because they say that they have conducted investigations, which has revealed that traders connive with customs officers and some GRA officials to dupe the state of revenue at the ports. So what's your issue?
Let me say a very good evening to our viewers and most especially to Traders Advocacy Group. You see, per what he said, it is even an indictment on himself.
Why?
It is laughable, and we will treat it with the contempt that it deserves.
What do you mean?
1, you said you got a tip of February, and we are in September. A serious correcting revenue agency like customs, and you are now acting on it. See, my brother, what is going on in this country concerning trade is nothing to write home about. 1, You sit there as custom officer. An importer clear his or her container, gets to Ejuso, that's close to Ashanti with Kumasi. Then, this commissioner that we just listened to, he has formed a task force. He should come out and tell us the bylaws in GRA regulation that support those task force.
So what was the task force set up to do? What's the task force doing?
To harass traders, to extort money from importers, and to intimidate them.
So let's take it one after the other. Good. If you say it's the task force set up by the Customs Division of the Ghana Revenue Authority is harassing traders, what do you mean?
What I mean is, you see, now go to Jubilee, one of the terminals in Tema. We can even play Brass football match there. Virtually empty. Because of those intimidation, it has directed cargo to our neighboring countries, Lomé and Abidjan. And one thing, as a custom commissioner, he should ask himself, why is our port empty? But when it gets to the market, there are no shortages of goods.
Meaning people are smuggling the goods into this country?
They are not smuggling.
Through unapproved routes?
Not unapproved route. Get this. If I take a container from Tema Port, I pay more than 19 charges. Go to Lomé, I'll pay just only 9. So it's even better for me to do business in Lomé or Abidjan than Tema Port or Takoradi Port. And we find it intriguing that per our research, mostly where this task force operates are the Accra-Kumasi Road. Mr. Seydi should come out and tell us, even the general public, what businessmen in Ashanti region has done to him. That his task force are harassing them, extorting money from them, of which we have some on mobile phones, mobile money.
Okay, so I wanted us to deal with the issues one after the other. So you talk about harassment. So is it that the task force in enforcing the law and doing their job is amounting to, is what you describe as harassment?
Not at all. See,
because they are set up to do a particular purpose.
We have, what was the reason why we set up paperless system, the policy? To do away with the human interface. So if you have paperless policy, of which we the traders, we consider as a very fantastic idea, then you, instead of you to check your officials, you allow them. And you see, every businessman is a smart person. If I pay my duties, you work my duties out to me, and you tell me I should pay 20,000, and I pay 20,000, on my way with my container, you come and impound the container and tell me I have to declare. Declare what? And to who? The official that you put there at the various spots. If you have any check and balances, they are the people that you should be held responsible.
Is it not that you have enjoyed, some leeway as a result of the weaknesses in the system, and that has persisted for so long? You've been used to this situation. Now that the GRA is trying to do the right thing, sealing the loopholes, you are fighting it because it is to your disadvantage.
It's far from that. There are no holes that they are sealing.
At the ports?
They are enriching themselves. At the detriment of the importer.
Do you have evidence to that effect? That
yes.
GRA officials are enriching
We
themselves?
have empirical evidence.
That
they are extorting money from importers.
See, extortion. In what form?
Monetary forms, of course. Monetary forms.
How do they ask for it?
If you are asking me why are they what the harassment, what form does it take? If I pay my duties at Tema or Takoradi Port, and I get to halfway my journey, your people chase me, impound my container, put me through a lot of harassment, things that cannot be found, baseless argument, baseless allegations. Because my friend, if I come to TV3, I want to do advertisement on my product, you charge me, I paid, and on my way you come and say what? I have underpaid, of which I have receipt with somebody's signature, then
which is a formal process that you pay that money at the port.
Exactly.
And it was signed off by a customs officer at the port. You have evidence to show that. And then you are asked to pay something more than what you paid at the port.
You see, Traders Advocacy Group, we are one association that we will never shed any member that goes contrary to the laws of this land. If you're a trader, you have to be a law-abiding citizen. Failure to do that, we will not come and support you. But what we cannot also sit down is what Mr. Seidu and some custom officials are doing. Let me tell you, we have fine custom officials, people who are ready to help, who are ready to sacrifice for this country. But that's some of them who think, or not even they think, their time of office, they have lived their relevance. They have to go. And instead of them to go, they are not going. They are there playing extra time and playing extra time also with traders.
You say you have evidence that they extort money from your members, that some of them pay through mobile phone.
Mobile money.
Mobile money.
Yes.
And that's evidence you have?
Yes.
That who extorted money from who?
The so-called tax force that has been impounding containers on Kumasi Accra Road. And we see the one thing that we find interesting.
So what? Is it the tax force or members of the tax force were extorting money from your members?
Members of the tax force.
And you have evidence of it?
We have empirical evidence, pictorial evidence.
I see. So with this evidence that you have, that the members of the tax force set up by the Custom Division of Ghana Revenue Authority extorting money from your members, what have you done with it?
Okay, so Traders Advocacy Group TAG, we don't just come out and talk. We are petitioning the presidency
on this matter.
On this matter. And today we had a press conference, because any document that goes to the presidency is a public document. After petitioning the government last week, today we had a press conference and we have explained the harassment, the inhumane ordeal that traders are going through. And you see, one thing that sometimes beats our imagination, any government that tries to impede progress of traders, I think if you don't know anything, if you have not tasted opposition before, you will not even do this. Why? What are the crimes of trader? What have we done? And most especially traders in Kumasi, what have they done? Our research team, what they came out with, more than 90% of this task force plied their trade in Kumasi Accra Road. Why? The traders in Kumasi, what have they done to this government? What have they done to me, Custom Commissioner?
So that's why you threatened to close down your shops?
We will not close down our shops, but we will continue to say anything concerning cost that we won't care, we will pass it on to the final consumer. We will never close our shop. That one will not happen so far as Traders Advocacy Group.
So when you petition the presidency on this, has there been any response as yet?
Not yet. And we know that definitely there will be a response.
Okay. And what about the GRA itself? Just you said now you have evidence of the alleged extortion by the tax force. Have you provided them with evidence of this for them to take action?
You see, somebody who is doing the same, who is perpetrating illegality or extorting or harassing members, we don't need to even give them those evidence. That is why we finish or you push that one to the presidency. And the Commissioner General of GRA, sometimes we don't even know. Under his tenure, businesses have collapsed more than any of the Commissioner General that we have in this country. Under his tenure. And we don't even know the reason why he is still at post.
Why? You want him sacked?
He has to go because his term has passed. He was given a contract that one too has elapsed, and he is still there. Or he also playing the extra time.
But that's the
no new ideas.
That's for the president to take that decision, is it not?
So president is happy with what is going on. The incompetency that this man is displaying. Is the president happy?
Well, you petitioned the president, so I'm sure if he's not, he will respond to you.
He has to. The president has no business than to respond and to take action, because we believe in him and we know that he will do the proper thing.
David Kojo Amoateng is Chief Executive Officer of the Traders Advocacy Group Ghana, TAG. Thank you for coming.
Welcome, my brother.
This is Business Focus. Now, inflation went down to 40.1% overall. That's the headline inflation. But then we see as well food inflation still going beyond 50%. That's a concern. But here's a report on that inflation rate announced by the Ghana Scale Service last week. Take a look.
Prices of food such as vegetables, tubers, plantains, fish and seafood continue to drive inflation even as general price levels moderate. The rate of price increase has slowed for the first time in 5 months.
Both food and non-food inflation relative to what we saw last month are slowing down. But if you look at it more critically, you see that the slowdown from a food perspective is much steeper than the slowdown in non-food. Specifically, we saw on a year-on-year basis between July and August 2023, food inflation slowed down by 3.1 percentage points relative to 2.9 percentage points from the perspective of non-food inflation.
Right, so that's how the situation is looking like, and the concern now is what measures have to be put in place to ensure that at least food inflation reduces, even though we're seeing headline inflation going down. And that's going to be the focus of the Three Business theme in the coming days. On behalf of the rest of the team, I want to say thank you so much for staying with us here on Business Focus. I sat in for a regular host, Parkwesi Asari. News 360 comes up next. I am Alfred Okanse. Have a good evening.
Business Focus is brought to you by
Flamingo Paint. Superior durability, superior hiding, superior coverage, simply superior.